God like what's next for me. I'm just fulfilling my destiny. Fulfilling my destiny, yeah. I talk to God like what's next for me. I'm just fulfilling my destiny. I'm just fulfilling my destiny.
Hey everyone, it's Dustin with Step Up to Greatness. Welcome to our second episode of the SU2G Podcast. What I want to do with these podcasts is interview people who inspire or do inspiring work so we can learn how to have a better impact on our communities and our world. I'm very excited for our guest today as him and I go back almost 10 years now. Growing up, I always played sports, but never got into actually working out until my 29th birthday. I joined a gym and got a free training session with our guest here, Drew Mitchell. The work and time I spent with Drew was nothing short of transformative, not just on my body, but on my life. Drew taught me principles that didn't just apply to fitness, and he was one of the men I credit for starting me on my path towards Christ. In the time since we met, a lot has happened for both of us, but we'll get into that into the interview. Drew, thank you so much for being here and talking to me, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much, Dustin. It's an honor to be chatting with you on here. I'm excited for this whole, interview podcast.
Well, first things first, you've lived all over the place, especially in recent years between Florida, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and now you're back in good old great state of Ohio. But where did you grow up, and out of your upbringing in these other places, where do you feel has had the most profound effect on your life?
Well, I grew up, from the time of being a toddler, I guess, to graduating high school in a little town called Marion, Ohio. I was born in Houston, Texas. My father was an Army guy who fought in Vietnam, and so we quickly moved back up to Ohio to be back with family. Soon after I was born, I have a brother who's 2 years older than I am. But so born in Houston, Texas, we were raised in Marion, Ohio, and since then, like you said, I've been all over. Upon graduating high school, I actually did a semester at Ohio State University, and then I moved to LA, Venice Beach. First time I lived in California, right at like 18, 19 years old, just to pursue my bodybuilding and fitness modeling dreams I initially had. And then, so like I said, I took a semester at Ohio State University, and then moved to LA on a short little modeling bodybuilding contract offer, and coming from a little small farm town in Marion, Ohio to Los Angeles was definitely a culture shock. So I mean, I've had a lot of pivotal moments in my life, and each place did play a pivotal role in my development as a person and a professional. But big of a dream as it was for me at first, like I didn't fit in LA at all. I wasn't comfortable there. I knew I still had to kind of discover myself more, and so I moved back home and attended a year at Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware, Ohio, where I played college football for a season. After that, during the summer, was it probably 2001 or 2002, I was out in Boston for a photo shoot, and long story short, the photographer guy I was shooting with had connections at the University of Southern Maine. Went out and wrestled in college at University of Southern Maine for a year up in Portland, Maine, and Gora, Maine, and so I met some significant people in my life. Jesse Peterson, Mike Brown, who are both professional MMA fighters, who were a wrestling teammate and a wrestling coach, got me into fighting MMA, and that's why I really started to train people, more so athletes. Anyway, then I came back to Ohio. I was supposed to go back to LA for bodybuilding. I stayed in Ohio for a while, and in personal training back to Ohio Wesleyan, and then ultimately I moved from Ohio to some of our top clubs as a personal trainer in Lake Mary, Florida, and Winter Park, Florida, and then back to Ohio, then South Beach, Florida, then Los Angeles, and then Las Vegas, where I spent 5 years. Recently got married, and we moved back to Ohio, to have our baby. So now I'm here. As far as, each place has had a pivotal role in my development as a person. I mean, LA and Vegas helped find myself. I mean, Florida, I helped, discover who I was. I've been through a lot, from drug addictions to self-image issues and to finding myself. So I'll let that be up to you, Dustin, how you want to direct the rest of those conversations.
No, that was awesome. I mean, you definitely have been a traveler. We'll say that, a nomad.
Yeah, definitely, like a gypsy.
Well, it's also awesome hearing just a little bit about the things you've overcome there. And in my intro, and as well as some different talks I've given, I've credited you as one of the ones that have as early exposure to what it's like to be a Christian man, and someone who influenced me in that regard, as well as you helped ignite a passion for me in physical health as well as emotional and spiritual health. Where did your influences come from, both with your spirituality and your desire to get into fitness?
Well, let's see here. They overlap, and I feel that all of our lives, they do have that overlapping. There's kind of like a circle of life, where you start and where you end. It's just ongoing. Let's see, spirituality started for me really young. My mother was my everything. I was definitely a mama's boy growing up initially. And she took us to church, taught me how to pray, taught me, how God was our best friend, and that, we could do anything, with God's help. We had trust and faith in Him. And my mother, Becky Mitchell, died when she was 35 years old. I was only 7 years old. It was about a month and a half before my 8th birthday. So she dying of breast cancer at the early age of 35 set my life into a whirlwind of chaos where I lost hope, I lost faith, I lost trust in God, I was confused, I was just a kid, ignorant to death, and my mother had taught me that God was the one who would always be there, who I could always love and turn to and trust in all times. And now all of a sudden my mother was gone, and it caught me so unexpectedly. I did turn to God, and I asked questions like, why? Why? I don't understand. Why did you keep my mother away from me? I blamed Him for it. And I just hoped and prayed that I would one day see her again. And at tender age of 7, I had a relationship with God. I talked to Him as my friend, as my mother taught me to do. So I asked Him where she was, why He took her from me. And then I also said, God, if you're real, prove it. Crazy as that was, people say be careful what you ask for. My life was never the same after that. And it might be hard for some of the listeners to hear what I'm about to say if they've never experienced something like this themselves. But honestly, at that moment, I really started to feel things, see things. When I say things, I mean like energy and spiritual connections of, good and evil. It's like I opened up the spiritual world to come and, invite themselves in to prove that the supernatural, eternal world of the spiritual world is real. And then also my father, who was a pastor of a Pentecostal church. He and my grandfather were pastors of a Pentecostal church my whole life. So my parents were already divorced, strangely enough. But then we started going to this Pentecostal church, and I was exposed to a whole different lifestyle. People speaking in tongues and shouting and raising their hands in church, and I didn't really know what to think of it. I accepted it. It was weird. It was different. I didn't really know what to think of it. And it wasn't until later in life that I really had my own experience with the Holy Spirit. And I was one of the kids, I was a closet rider. My dad being a Vietnam vet, my brother being this really tough, great athlete. I wasn't the best athlete ever, but I always had a big heart, and I was always this closet rider. And I wrote poetry, I wrote short stories. It was my way to cope with all the pain losing my mom. And but I tried to be a jock, and I wanted everyone to have that tough persona. Like I was this tough kid, I was this athlete, and so I never really submitted or surrendered to God. Even though I saw people in the church like praying and raising their hands at church, I thought it was kind of weird. I never wanted to be like that weird Jesus freak. And it wasn't until this is a pretty amazing story. It wasn't until I was 21 years old, wrestling in college in Maine, and this time was overcoming a drug addiction, a cocaine addiction, smoking weed every day, drinking alcohol. I was lost, and I got injured. I was told I wasn't allowed to wrestle the rest of the season, and that was my main goal, was to go to nationals in wrestling. And so I started drinking every day. I was a mess, and I really wanted to die. I remember having a conversation with God, asking him to just take me away. I no longer wanted to put up with the pain and the frustration of life and trying to figure out who I was and what my purpose was. And so one Wednesday after wrestling practice, I'm at the school cafeteria, and there's this girl I was kind of talking to, dating at the time, named Kristen. You know, I asked her what she was up to later that night, and she said, well, I'm actually going to church. She's like, you're more than welcome to join me if you like. And God always has a plan for something, and I didn't know what his plan was. I was just trying to get closer to this girl, and I said, of course I'll go to church with you. So on the way to church, she said to me, well, I got to say something. I don't know, your religious background or anything. I don't want you to think I'm weird, but I go to a Pentecostal church, and I just don't want you to think I'm some weirdo. Something like strange happens tonight. And I started laughing, and she's like, what are you laughing at? She thought I was making fun of a religion at first, and I said, no. I said, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. I was my father and grandfather were pastors of a Pentecostal church. And she's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. So the opening church service, and this is like a turning point in my spirituality. I never became a saint after that, but this was a big wake-up call, and it really transformed what I became in a spiritual walk and spiritual man. 21 years old, I'm wrestling in college, get injured, turn to drugs and alcohol as a way to temporarily cope and escape from all this pain and frustration I was experiencing in life. And, so this girl asked me to go to church with her, and she told me it's the same, Pentecostal church upbringing that I was raised in. And we go, and the church service opened. I felt like I was back in my grandfather's church again. And the pastor asked for, if there were prayer requests. And random people raised their hands saying, pray for my neighbor, they're looking for a job. Pray for my sister, she's sick. And then this one man stood up, and I'll never forget this, and I believe he's like one of my guardian angels. He stood up, he said, Pastor, I just got a word from God that we're supposed to have a special prayer for the men of this world, but more so the men of God who have dug a hole so deep for themselves that God is the only one that can pull them out of that hole. And as soon as he said that, my body, like my heart started racing, my fingers started tingling, my feet started shaking, and I knew it was from me. And he goes, they've dug a hole so deep for themselves that only God can pull them out, but until they're courageous enough to reach out in faith, like God is unable to pull them out, because that's what free will is all about. And so instantly, like, I feel my whole body come alive, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is God telling me to reach out to him for the first time in my life. I'm lost. I was in this bottomless pit, and the only way out was to be courageous enough to reach out in faith. And here I am again, wrestling with the inner thoughts, well, no, I'm this jock, I'm this tough guy, I don't want anyone to think I'm some weird Jesus freak. And so anyway, the pastor thanked the man for stating that. He said, are there any more prayer requests? And there weren't any. And so he said, okay, with all eyes closed and heads bowed, let's go to our Lord and Savior in prayer. And I close my eyes, and I hear that voice inside of me, just like, reach out to me, son. Be courageous. Reach out to me. I know you feel lost, but just reach out to me. And so I slowly, first I remember opening my eyes and looking around. I said, if I'm going to do this, I don't want anyone to see me. So I look around and make sure everyone's eyes are closed and heads are bowed. And then I slowly started to reach up my left hand, and literally my hand gets to about the top of my head, and I feel this energy, like this force, like a magnetic attraction, trying to pull my hand down. And literally at that moment, I felt like, this is spiritual warfare, like just from my past and everything. I know that it's real now. So I literally shot up my left hand at that time, and at that moment, first time in my life, I feel the Holy Spirit, and it just, boom, like electricity shooting from my fingertips all the way down to the soles of my feet, throughout my body. It's like I was taking them out in the middle of the galaxy and back, and it was crazy. And I shot my right hand up, and I don't know how long we were in prayer, but like tears were running down my face. I felt like I was just full of electricity. And then, like, right when, the pastor said, okay, and all of God's people said amen, and like I snapped back in reality. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I remember sitting down in that pew the rest of the service, and I just felt electric, and it was amazing. I shared that story with Kristen on the way home after school, and she was so excited and told me, like, oh my goodness, you felt that? Like, isn't it amazing? And I thought it was awesome that she had felt that before as well. But that was the first time in my life I felt the Holy Spirit at the age of 21, and that really awakened to a whole new awareness and lifestyle. And that, again, like I said, it's not like instantly all of a sudden I was this perfect soul, far from it. And I have so many stories beyond that, falling off the straight and narrow path, but finding my way back. But
real quick on that was just an incredible story, and I like the fact that you're even letting us know about, you've fallen off that path since, because that's one thing not a lot of people get when they look at Christians and our lives. It's a constant battle. It's just because we found Jesus doesn't mean that it's all gravy from there on. Life is so much better and amazing and stuff, but it's still a struggle. We're still in a world, we're still incomplete people, and we're still faulty people. And but hearing that story of redemption for you, and that you've got even more to go into, that's just incredible. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Absolutely. As far as, just kind of rewind and backtrack about health and fitness, how I got into that, I think it was two things. It was one, it was just because I was naturally skinny. I was a little kid. I was a runt. I was always a runt on all my sports teams. I was always the smallest kid, and I was determined not to be. I wanted to not be skinny. I wanted to not be the smallest kid. So I was always gravitated to muscles and big athletes and stuff. And it was, I remember being a kid, and my older cousin Troy had a weight bench down in our basement. My mother was still alive. I remember my Aunt Gloria was babysitting us, so I must have been like 5 or 6 years old. My bigger cousin Troy, who was in high school at the time, had his own weight bench in the basement. And I remember watching him work out and drinking his little Joe Weider pre-made protein shakes, and and watching him. And then, like, when he would go upstairs afterwards, trying to, he had muscles all over that I'd never seen before in person. So trying to do the exercises that he did, even as a 5-year-old, like, I remember this. And then, dropping all the weights and getting in trouble because I was messing around with, my cousin's weights. And then fast forward to, I think I'm about 11 or 12, at this time, and one of my other cousins were over at one of my other aunts, and we're in the basement. My brother and I just kind of snooping around, being kids, going to the basement, playing around, and I noticed over in the corner with some boxes all on it was a weight bench, all dusty and old rusted iron and everything. But to me, it was like, aha, like, oh my goodness, this is the answer to everything. Like, my own weight bench. I just knew, because my cousin had moved to Tennessee and was no longer using it. So I was like, if I can convince my aunt to give it to me and my dad to take it home, like, this is going to be the beginning of something great. Like, I just feel like I've always been called to the fitness industry somehow, and I've begun to understand why. As I've, thank God, I've been able to lead so many people to health and wellness, and mentally, physically, spiritually, and it all kind of started with my health and fitness background. And so we get this hand-me-down weight bench set, probably 11 to 12 years old, and inviting the neighborhood kids over and seeing who could bench press the most, who could bicep curl the most, and leg extension and deadlift. And again, I don't think I was the weakest kid in the neighborhood, but I was far the strongest. But I had a gift that they didn't. I had this weight bench in my basement, so I could do it any time. So I actually discovered body shaping. It was a TV show back on ESPN2, and Big Rick Valente, he had a big bodybuilder guy who was showing different exercises. Would have like bicep or arm section one day, a chest section one day. So I started writing stick characters on a notebook and writing a description of these exercises. Then I'd go down in the basement later that day and try to do what I remember him doing on the body shaping video. That was the very beginning of me learning some new exercises. And then it was, goodness, so Chris Covert, who's my buddy, it's actually his birthday today. Chris Covert, happy birthday, man. We're in the 8th grade, and I think I was 14 years old. And he brings a flex muscle mag to school. And there was this bodybuilder, Lee Priest, who's 5'4", 240, 50 pounds off season, and I was like, oh my gosh, how tall is he? And because that's how tall I was at the time, 5'4", and if this guy could do it, I thought I could do it, even though I only weighed like 98 pounds soaking wet at the time in the 8th grade. So anyway, I just begged Chris Cove, like, oh dude, can I please borrow this magazine? I promise I'll bring it back tomorrow. And and I had to kind of talk him into convincing me to doing it. And he finally allowed me to borrow it. And he goes, just bring it back tomorrow. And to this day, I still have that in my office at home.
Oh.
And I couldn't give it up. I couldn't give it away. I started doing, the exercises that these big bodybuilders are doing. And then it's funny, I still have that to this day. And but then shortly thereafter, again, like I feel like this was like my calling, because God knew what it was going to do for me. Like literally about 3 months later, I was at a Barnes & Noble. No, not Barnes & Noble. It was a Walden Books, in the Southland Mall in Marion, Ohio. And I was looking for Cliff Notes for White Fang, because I didn't read this book I was supposed to. I had a book report due the next day. And I asked the lady, and if she had where the Cliff Notes were. She showed me. And then me being who I was, like, okay, cool. I threw that on the counter. I'm like, what is your sports section? She guided me back, and she said, if you need any help, I'll be up at the front. I said, okay, I'm going to share this story, because I wrote this story in my book, The Warrior Within. I'd only had my dad give me, I think, like $10 for the Cliff Notes, drop me off. This was back when there were pay phones and everything, and so forth, because I had to, not cell phones, I had to go drop a quarter and pay phone when I call them and let them know when I was ready for them to come pick me up. And so anyway, I only had $10 and to buy the Cliff Notes. And I'm back in this aisle, and there was like this angelic light shown on this book, and I pulled it out, and it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Educational Bodybuilder. And I think it was something like $14.95 or something was the book, and I had my Cliff Notes, which I knew I had to get because I had to write my book report the next day. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do, but I know I'm supposed to have this book. And so I did the only thing I knew what to do. I looked down the aisles, I looked both ways, make sure nobody's around, and I lifted my shirt up, and I tucked the book down in my waistband, and I covered my shirt over top of it, and literally then it was this crazy story. I finally get out of there, I was scared to death. I was stealing this book, and I was scared to death I was going to get caught, and I prayed 100 times, God, please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me, but I knew I just had to have that book. So I went home, and I did a really horrible, book report on this White Fang, Cliff Notes, and then after that, I read the book. I stayed up all night, and I read the entire book, The Educational Bodybuilder.
Wow.
And, within that period of time, I went from 8th grade weighing like 96 pounds, because I wrestled 98-pound weight class, so weighed 96 pounds. I got up to, started following the 5,000-calorie meal plan that Arnold has in his book, and I advanced myself from the beginner, intermediate to advanced training programs. And got up to 112 as a freshman, and then 165 as a sophomore, and 185 as a junior. And then, and this is, all drug-free, natural. And then, senior year, I kind of got a little leaner, and I wrestled at like 161, 170. And, I got my first personal training position at 18 at Victory Fitness Center in Columbus, Ohio. And so I've been a trainer for 18 years since. So I'll stop rambling for a minute and let you kind of ask what you want from there. But that was kind of the beginning of it all for me in the bodybuilding and health and fitness area.
Those are just awesome stories.
Sorry, I can ramble a lot, so I apologize.
I'm flashing back to some of our training sessions together, so it's all good there. You've been in the fitness industry for a long time. Did you get into the fitness industry because you wanted to help others like that, or just because of your desire to make yourself look better?
Well, initially, to be honest, it started, selfishly. Obviously, you got to take care of yourself before you truly love yourself. I don't feel you can truly love and take care and nurture others. But I was on this self-discovery, this path to find out who I was, and bodybuilding and lifting weights for me gave me a sense of self. It improved my self-image, my self-confidence, because I felt like I was an ugly duckling growing up all the time. I had this all-American athlete for an older brother. My stepsister was, on the homecoming corps, captain of the cheerleading team, valedictorian, and then here I was, a skinny little kid. So bodybuilding, when I first started, working out and following a meal plan and seeing my body change and seeing and hearing the people's comments at school, like, wow, man, you look good. You know, what have you been doing? Like, all of a sudden, I went from becoming an ugly duckling to a beautiful swan. And it was like night and day. And it made me feel so amazing that, and actually how it started out as personal training is, you know, people started asking me, you know, like, wow, what are you doing? What are you training? Can I work out with you? And I started doing that with a couple of my buddies, and they wouldn't last that long because it does take an extreme commitment and self-discipline to be consistent with it. And then my senior year in high school, I've been working out with one of my buddies, and his body started changing. So his mom asked me if I would train her a couple days a week in their basement. They had a home gym. And I did, and her body started changing, and I was charging like $10 a session. People were asking me at school to write meal plans. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just wrote them kind of like what I was doing, what I thought I would do with those goals. And I was charging $10 for a meal plan, $10 to work out. And so, you know, I'm a senior in high school. I'm training a couple of my buddies' moms, and right now a couple of meal plans at school. So when I graduated high school, you know, before I didn't really initially plan on going to college. I wanted to move out to Cali and be a big bodybuilder, a star like Arnold, but like I was like, wow, what am I gonna do? I don't want to work at a factory like so many people did in my hometown. It's a small little farm town. I'm not a farmer. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I'm like, I love working out, and I would love to train people. You know, it's just I've been training people, so I'm like, I went to Columbus, like from Marion, a little farm town in Ohio, to Columbus. It's like going to New York. It was like the big city. It was like such a big deal. So it was like amazing. When I got a job in Columbus, Ohio, I was like this little kid in this tiny little farm town, and I was working in the big city. So that was the beginning. And yeah, it's just, you know, it's some of the lives that I was able to change. You know, from someone who was obese coming to me, and opening up to me about sharing how they feel like they've let themselves down, they let their families down, they let their wife down from getting overweight, and that they have no motivation to live, and you know their energy is horrible, and they have pain all over, and to just learn of how I can change somebody physically, but to change someone physically, it starts mentally. You have to change. It all starts with belief, and when you're able to motivate and inspire someone to believe in themselves. Because you can put yourself, you remember when you were in their shoes, when you didn't believe in yourself, maybe fat, but you were skinny. You know what it feels like to feel not attractive. And to be able to start with some people like that, and all of a sudden to see that twinkle in their eyes of that belief spark, and they believe in themselves, and then all of a sudden, day after day, you're encouraging them and seeing their body change, their motivation and grow. And when all of a sudden, then like you flash forward 6 months, and they're a different person, they look different, they feel different, they walk different, they talk different. That's what inspired me to continue my journey as a trainer. It's like a drug. I got addicted to helping people, and it felt amazing.
You know, I definitely can get behind you on that, because for one, when I started working out with you, I was probably in some of the best shape of my life. Just from working out with you, we trained together for I believe about a year, and it was awesome experience, and I definitely felt a lot better about myself, and thank you for that. And then just knowing how I felt, that's kind of where you again, working with you, helped develop that passion for me, or ignite the passion, realizing that, you know, I like helping people, and I want to help them become better and healthier and more confident and stuff. So again, I credit a lot of where I'm at now to you. So thank you for that, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I'll tell you really quickly. You know, you were amazing. What you did, following you on social media over the years after, that was just a spark in your life that you needed at that moment in your life. And seeing, I remember working with you from the beginning, and like all of a sudden your conditioning improving, your body changing, your body fat getting lower. All of a sudden you got this muscle, your smile got bigger and brighter, your confidence, and I believe it inspired you to take on bigger things in your life, which obviously you have done an amazing job. And following you on social media, I look back like, wow, that's not even the same person I met all those years ago. So I commend you on what you've become and who you're becoming as well. So kudos to you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So you have your moniker that you go by, Destined Legend, which is
Yes,
a
sir.
great name. It's a great name. How did you come up with that name, and what has it meant to you throughout your career or life?
That's a great question. I'll tell you what. I'm trying not to get emotional here. My life is a testament to God and how great He is and what He can do for you if you just trust Him and give Him a chance. And I told you guys just a little bit ago, and told you Dustin, how I went out to California when I was 18, 19 to chase my dreams of fitness modeling and bodybuilding. And when I accepted that role and I moved out there, and I was this little no-name kid. I mean, well, it was amazing when I got the job in Columbus, Ohio, as a personal trainer at Victory Fitness Center. But now, all of a sudden, like not even a year later, I get asked to move out to LA for bodybuilding and fitness modeling. I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. Like, my dreams are coming true. I'm the next big thing. And when I went out to LA and got punched in the face by reality, I felt like a dog, tucking his tail and running back to Ohio. I did not want to come back home at first. I was scared. I felt like a failure. I'm like, man, if I go back to Ohio before I become this successful person, everyone's going to be like, I told you so. You're never going to do that. You're crazy. Who do you think you are? And that's some of the self-talk that you have to face in life sometimes. Like I said, it all starts with belief. You have to believe that you are destined for greatness, that you are a destined legend. And I didn't at first. I never believed I was destined for greatness. When I was younger, I had to overcome a lot and believe in myself. But so I moved back to Ohio, feeling like a failure, and like 19 years old, and I started, resorting to marijuana, smoking weed a lot, hanging out with people, unmotivated, because, that's what I was supposed to do. I was no name kid, no name town. Who was I? I think I was great. And then I had a dream. I woke me up. I've had vivid dreams. Remind you, when I was 7, my mother died. I said, God, if you're real, prove it. So I've had a lot of crazy experiences my entire life, and God always spoke to me in my dreams. I saw things a lot, and that awakened me in my dreams. So I always kept a notepad by my bed at an early age with a pencil, because if I had a dream I wanted to remember, I'd write it down. And so this night, oh my goodness gracious, in the dream, I'm dreaming in the dream, but then I awake within the dream, and God takes me and He puts me in the middle of the universe, and I'm just seeing like these planets and stars flashing all around me, and I hear God's voice. It says, I hear destined legend. You are a destined legend. They're all destined legends, destined for greatness. And it's like we all have a special gift, a unique ability that we were brought to this earth to share with the world. And your role is to help them discover that, help them rediscover that. And it was like, I remember this, I speak about this in my workshop that I was teaching TNT trainer. I mentioned Destined Legends and how I had the idea. And it's like he took me all over the earth, like soaring me right above the oceans, right over the mountaintops. He took me through all the villages and all the cultures of all the world. And that's when he said, you're a destined legend. You're destined for greatness, but we all are. And he told me that my role, my purpose was to help everyone rediscover who they are, what their purpose is in this life, because we are all destined legends. And instantly, I wake up and like the sweat and my heart's beating ridiculously fast. And I write, that's the first thing I wrote down, is destined legend. We're all destined legends, destined for greatness, and I couldn't go back to sleep. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I didn't utilize that term until I was probably 26 years old. I always called myself the destined legend, but and that was more so just a confidence thing, trying to tell myself that I was destined for greatness. But I always knew in the back of my head what my purpose in this life was. I didn't know how I was going to do it, what it was going to look like. And then it started with my first time I qualified for nationals in bodybuilding. I was 24 years old. I had made Destined Legend T-shirts for all my friends and family who were going to be supporting me at my bodybuilding show. And on the back of them, just had different quotes I liked or scriptures that were empowering. And then when I went on my own, my first time I started my own independent personal training called Destined Legends Training. But it all started with that dream I had when I moved back from California, and I was lost and hoping and praying. I didn't feel like I was destined for greatness at all, but, I had that dream. So I truly believe it was divinely inspired. It was a gift from God and telling me Destined Legends. That's where it came from.
That's awesome. So let's take a turn here from where you've been at with your personal training and fitness and all that. You currently have 4 books for sale through Amazon. Can you tell us a little bit about each of those books? Just kind of like a little short, brief synopsis.
Yeah. Well, The Warrior Within was the first one. That is it's an autobiography of me from my early days, living with my mother, her dying, who I became, my journey up until probably my I think my late 20s, early 30s. And that's just, we all have a warrior within, just like we're all destined legends. We all have a warrior within us that, when our backs are against the wall and odds are stacked against us, we want to give up, we want to give in. That warrior within us is there to remind us what all we've gone through, what all we've already overcome, and just to like that lion roaring, saying, no, don't give up, don't give in. You can keep going, find that warrior within you, and just keep going, like you're going to achieve what you set out to. So the warrior within is just my personal story of how I've kind of overcome some of my life's challenges. Now, I have TNT. It's called Training the Trainer. I created that book because for so long, so many years, I would look around and I was definitely blessed. I was definitely gifted and blessed to work on some of the best personal training teams in the country, in Columbus, Ohio, Orlando, Florida, Southeast Florida, Los Angeles, California, Las Vegas. Learn from the best, and I look around and so many different people that they maybe lack the people skills, communication skills, program design, whatever it was, and I wanted to create a course, to help teach people to be successful in the arena that helped me, because I know that it is such a great gift to work with somebody, a personal trainer, because it is personal. You get to know these people on a personal level. You're not just training them physically, you're training them mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So, the more successful you are as a trainer, the more people you can change. Unstoppable is my personal growth book, and I actually just re-edited and got a new cover for that, which actually I literally just released yesterday. It should probably be up on Amazon with the whole new cover and everything in the next few days. But just again, my whole life, it's all the whole Destined Legends, Warrior Within, and everything I've overcome, like chapters such as like vision, desire, taking action, overcoming fear, having faith, overcoming adversity, having persistence. Also, a chapter on forgiveness, leadership in your destiny, and just going in and just inspiring people. That's what this is, inspiring people, educating people, uplifting and encouraging people to just be their best version of themselves. And I also have the Big Bench program, how to increase your bench press by 50 pounds in 30 days. Is I wanted to leave my mark in the industry, in the fitness industry, of what's done so much for me. I'm like, when I'm gone, I want to be remembered like doing something. So I shared I have like a couple pictures on there of my bodybuilding days, and a little story of me bench pressing like 405 pounds, which was my most ever. And I left that. I actually just finished a couple of days ago. Actually, my fifth one is titled The Coffee House. I initially wrote it as a screenplay. It's based on a true story of me in my early 20s, and that was I'm excited because my ultimate goal is to turn that one into a movie. And I have a few books I'm working on that all hope to turn into movies. Again, just Destined Legends to just uplift, encourage, and inspire the world with.
Yeah, that was one of my questions I was going to go to next, was knowing that part of your aspirations are to be a screenwriter for a movie. Are you hoping to turn one of these books or upcoming books into movies?
I actually have a book I've been working on, titled Dead or Alive. That's my journey in bodybuilding. The good, the bad, the ugly. It really gives an inside look to people about bodybuilding. Be honest, there's a very ugly world in bodybuilding, which one thing I learned, I talked about being the ugly duckling in life and why I got into bodybuilding. And it was one, just to get over that insecurity, but two, it was also a shell that you could hide inside of, and all your insecurities, instead of facing your fears and demons, the bigger the shell was on the outside, you portray this persona of like, oh man, look how powerful he is, but inside I was still that lonely, desperate, scared little 7-year-old who lost his mom. And but I want to share my story, Dead or Alive, of what, not just in bodybuilding, with so many professional athletes, what they're willing to do to become famous, or to become the champion, if you will, in bodybuilding. It led me down a lot of great roads, and I introduced you to a lot of amazing people, but the darkness in it, the drugs, the depression, the anxiety, of using tens of thousands of dollars of drugs to enhance what my physical appearance looked like, and how it left me miserable. I want to turn that into a movie. In the Coffee House, I definitely want to turn it into a movie. That's my early 20s, my true life story of my addiction to cocaine and selling cocaine. I wanted to make enough money to attend LA Film School, and I didn't want to be one of those struggling artists. And I already was addicted to cocaine, and I started selling it, and just my personal discovery of who I am and who I was and who I became along that journey is what the Coffee House is all about. It's about a man, with a dream, trying to become something great, and what he's willing to do to become that, what he's willing to risk. There's a love story in it. There's also a story of betrayal. These three best friends are the main characters, and which it has a double meaning. These three friends, each of those friends represents me at a different stage of my life. Like the reckless, wild, the fearless person, to the dreamer who just wanted to be happy and successful and go on to do good things to help change the world. And then who I was in between that, and the transition of the one to the other. But they also represent, true life people in my life. One of them is dead now, from the whole drug business. Almost lost the other one as well. And it's a story of survival, but also of redemption and self-discovery, and achieving greatness, following your heart, and a love story, and ultimately achieving your goals. And it's going to be a trilogy. So that's the Coffee House. And at least both of those definitely as movies.
Awesome. If these were to turn into movies, would you be the star in the movie, or who would you have play you in the movie?
I definitely will not be, for a couple reasons. One, because Coffee House is, again, me in my early 20s, and I definitely don't look like I did in my early 20s. So we definitely have to get somebody, younger, better looking, all that. As far as who would play me, oh my goodness, that's a great question. That's a great question every writer who wants to make a movie about his own life is confronted with, or even not even about their own lives. We always ask yourself, well, Matt, who would play this? Who would play this role? I don't know. I don't know who would play me, to be honest. Araya, it's interesting because I started this book when I lived in Orlando, the Coffee House screenplay, and then the lead character's name is Araya, and Araya is now the name of my 4-month-old son. And I had no idea at the time when I wrote this name as my lead character. The name Araya means Lion of God. But so he's a lead, and I don't know, someone tall, lean, muscular, but who's a dreamer. And then Dead or Alive, that is one that I would like to be in a little bit as more of an adult version, or at least as kind of like an autobiography, like at the end of the movie, stating how this is a true story, this was my life, and then maybe have a message out to aspiring bodybuilders or athletes, just kind of trying to dissuade them from using drugs. Mm-hmm. But so
your books, you published those independently, did you not, for
Correct.
Amazon?
Correct.
Now, is that a direction you are thinking of heading with turning these into films, like doing it kind of independently, or?
That was the Coffee House, once that gets published, like I said, it was initially a screenplay, and I just turned it into a book. I literally just finished it a few days ago, and hopefully it'll be published next week or the following. sometime. And what I'm going to do with that, my goal for that is to start a GoFundMe page. You know, living in LA and living in Vegas, I met a lot of people in the industry, you know, producers, filmmakers, writers, you know, just directors and producers. So my goal is to start a GoFundMe page and to raise a certain percentage of the money to at least go out to Vegas. I have an idea with some of the people I like for the roles, just to start filming on it and, you know, getting at least enough footage done that we could like reveal like a teaser, a trailer, and then, you know, maybe pick up some funding from a major motion picture company and go that way. If need be, whatever God's will is going to happen. If we need to go the independent route the whole time, I'm more than prepared to go that route. I just want to have a say, whether it goes to a big company or not. I'm just going to have a say of being like, you know, the assistant director. I want to be on set. Right. You know, leading the direction of this film as well, because there is a reason for it. There's messages that I want to properly convey and certain stories that I don't want to be skewed because it is my story. And even though people go read the book, I have a vision for the movie industry as well. So I don't want somebody to just take my book and totally turn it all around. So, right. You know, that would be part of the deal.
So you've been an independent contractor at various gyms. You've managed various gyms. You've written books now, and you have your aspirations for writing a film. What is your advice for anyone out there wanting to be an entrepreneur, but they might be a little bit too scared to take that leap?
You know, I mean, whether you're a Christian or not, you know, I know Dustin is an awesome Christian, and I am a Christian. And it doesn't matter if you are or not. You got to have faith in something. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in something bigger than yourself, because the world is just too perfect not to be. Not as far as perfect as what's going on in the world, but perfect in the way it's just developed and stuff. And, you know, many are called, few are chosen. I believe the chosen ones are the ones who take the risk, the ones who, you know, step out into the unknown. You know, you gotta take a risk in life. And you know, faith without works is dead. You can believe all you want. You can have a dream just like I had, but you know, if you don't take action towards that, it's never going to happen. I mean, it's not easy. I'm not going to lie and tell you it's easy. I'm not going to tell you you're going to fall on your face. You're not going to fail 100 times, but it only takes that one time to be successful. It's going to turn your whole mindset around, you know, and it's going to turn your belief around. Honestly, that's why I wrote the book Unstoppable, because I do believe we are all destined for greatness. You know, my book, The Warrior Within, is a little bit about, you know, my journey, you know, having to face those fears of like going out on your own, all the things that, you know, and I know millions of people had lives so much harder than mine, you know, but every great success story, you know, is overcoming obstacles and having the courage to just step out on your own and take a risk. You know, you just got to go for it, because if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. And to achieve something you've never done, you have to achieve something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. So you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to go for it.
All right. One last question for you. At the end of your life, if someone were to describe something you did or achieved with greatness, what would you want that to be?
Just want to say, man, yeah, he really was a destined legend. You know, that's it. It's plain and simple. I want the dream that I had, I believe it's being fulfilled every day. You know, with my words, when I speak, with the videos I record, whether on social media, my YouTube channel, the books that I write, the trainers that I train every day, the clients that I work with every day. I inspire them to be great. I inspire them to believe in themselves. And that's a gift that I have. It's believing. I believe in people before they believe in themselves. And I just want to be remembered for being that legend. We're all destined for greatness. And I just want to be remembered for being great. You know, just... And not being cocky, just being humble. That you know, he went out there, he believed in himself, and helped others believe in themselves, and he'll always be remembered. That's what a legend is. So
awesome. And where can people go to find out more information about you, your books, any social media?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram. Destin Legends, Legends ends with a Z, not an S, the way I have it. So yeah, either, the Destin Legend on Facebook or Destin Legends on Instagram. My website, Destin Legends, which is more of a personal training website. I think, I don't know, I have like I am Drew Mitchell or something, or that's going to be developed here soon. But yeah, I mean, you search it, you'll find it. Nowadays it's so easy now. But yeah, Destin Legends with a Z, Andrew Mitchell, man. And Dustin, I just want to thank you for having me on your show, just your podcast, everything. I believe you're doing great things. I have visions and dreams all the time, and when you asked me to speak with you today, like I just I started looking back at some of your stuff and who you are and who you're becoming, and I'm telling you, I have a big vision of what you're doing, man. It's going to take off, and you're going to inspire and encourage and uplift a lot of people. So congratulations, and thank you for having me on this show, and just continue doing what you're doing. You're awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Drew. I really appreciate that, and definitely got to credit some of that back to you for making me feel like I'm destined for being a legend. So thank you for that, brother.
Hey, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you.
That is all for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please feel free to share it. And thank you again to our guest today, Drew Mitchell. And I just want to remind you all to keep moving forward and step up to greatness.